Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
The National Parks-Arts Foundation is an incredible nonprofit organization that creates extraordinary, and I mean extraordinary, and unique artist-in-residence programs within the National Park Service. Artists of all mediums and genres get to immerse themselves within a park unit for a full month. We're talking places like Loggerhead out in the dry Tortugas of Florida, out on an island. You could be at the Hawaii volcanoes, Gettysburg National Military Park, or the ancient and historic Chaco-Culture National Historical Park in New Mexico. And that's what we're talking about today. What's it like to be an artist there? We have three guests joining us on Big Blend Radio's first Friday National Parks Arts Foundation show today, and they're going to talk about the artist in residence experience at Chaco Culture National Historical Park. So first up, we have Tanya Ortega. She's the founder of the National Parks Arts Foundation. Again, the website is nationalparks-arts-foundation.org, and she's calling in literally hanging on the edge of a volcano, right, Tanya? So you could disappear at any moment today.
As usual, yes. I'm right on the volcano. I love calling you from the volcano.
That's always the best. That's the best way. Also, Nathan Hatfield, who's no stranger to Big Blend Radio either. Tanya's on the show every month. Nathan has been on the show a few times, and we met Nathan back in Louisiana at the Cane River Creole National Historical Park, and now he's the Chief of Interpretation of Chaco Culture National Historical Park and also Aztec Ruins. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the park, and you can go to nps.gov/CHCU. Nathan, welcome back to the show. How are you?
It's great to be here. I'm doing great.
It's awesome to have you back. I just want to know, are you still walking around with hot sauce in your pocket after living in Louisiana?
I always keep Tabasco handy. You never know when you're going to need it.
Oh, wow. And you're in the land of chilies. This is crazy. But, there it is, Louisiana to New Mexico. I get it. I get the connection. Our third guest is really our guest of honor today because he is the artist in residence at Chaco, and he is Hal Stewart. He is this incredible sculptor. He really creates these amazing bronze sculptures that depict the people of the Southwest, also horses, animals. It is Hal Stewart. And you can go to his website, halstewartbronze.com, and that's Stewart, Stewart. But welcome, Hal. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm here in beautiful Chaco Canyon, and the temperature's in the 70s today. It's beautiful, beautiful.
And you're saying the 70s because we're in Tucson, and we're climbing into the 90s, right? The beginning. Of course. You know where we're going with this.
Of course, and I can't wait for it.
I know. Do you like the heat? I know that you...
Oh, I love the heat. I love the heat. My first career was in the construction industry in Arizona, so bring on the 110 degrees, no problem.
Okay, so construction is very interesting to where you go now with your sculpting and your sculptures. I mean, Nancy and I were looking at them, and everybody, Big Blend Radio, Nancy says hello to everybody. She's in the geek tank, as you know, that sometimes she has to splash out and
right.
Play with the geeks, but she's the main Madam Geek of website land here. But how, when we look at your art, I mean, it is, you are the Southwest dude. You really capture the spirit and movement, not only of the people, but the animals that you portray. There's a movement. It's very figurative. And I wonder about, like, you going from a construction background and ranching background and bringing that into sculpture, that those fields helped you into this.
Yes, they did. There's no connection whatsoever between construction and my bronze sculpting career. I discovered a talent when I left construction that I did not know existed. So that's when I discovered my talent and started producing my bronzes. No connection except, I do love the Southwest.
Well, I just thought because you're still creating and building something, that's how my mind goes. Like, hey, he's still building something. He's got his hands in there. But it's amazing. You also served our country, so thank you so much for that. Navy, right? I better say it correctly. That's the Navy. If I get it wrong, I hear I'll get in trouble.
The U.S. Navy, 4 years.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for your service. And
you're welcome.
You understand the human spirit. What attracted you to
pretty
that?
Much so, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I said, what attracted you to that, to capturing that in your work?
I like to put some action into my figures. I don't want a figure just to stand there and say, look how pretty I am. I want my pieces to tell a story, to make the viewer stop, think a little bit, wonder, and of course, smile and enjoy.
Mm. Yeah, you do make us stop, and you also make us stop and think back to a time that we're still in the balance of. Does that make sense when you look at the changing times now?
Yes.
But we're still
yes.
like, if you're in a place like Chaco and a place like Arizona, you go south of Tucson, right?
Yes.
Time is kind of, we're in that borderline of like, no, we're not going into, like, you're not going to digitize us. We're still here.
We're still here.
Yeah, exactly. This is so exciting that you're at Chaco, and I want to bring Tanya on to talk about this because I think Chaco, it's such a deep place, and I can't wait to get there. Nancy can't wait to get there. But Tanya, these programs through the National Parks Arts Foundation are very unique and amazing that an artist can spend a month. Whether they're right in the park or staying on the outside, it's really about being able to be focused for a month on your craft, and whether you're there taking photos to paint later or whatever it's going to be. This is a very unique opportunity. But from what I've seen on your post too, that Chaco is something it's deeply connected to the National Parks Arts Foundation and its heritage.
Well, it really is, and I've been going to Chaco myself since before I can remember. I remember my grandmother who lived down the road on I-40 there, past Houck, between Houck and Sanders, taking me when I was really, really young and making the drive out there, believe it or not, and a Lincoln, an old Lincoln, which was pretty amazing. But I just personally, Chaco is a magic place. I wish that there was a different word that interpretation could tell me to use rather than magic. But it's just amazing. It is also sort of like if I'm getting my history right, and Nathan corrects me, how many different tribes and clans are they saying Chaco was the center of trade, the center of ceremony? And also I was an artist in residence there for a few years.
I knew you'd finally say that. Gonna drag it out of you.
Yes.
Oh.
So it's really, really important, with the foundation, of course, and we do have a panel of people who choose, but I just love to see what Chaco is doing, and Nathan and the park staff are putting so much investment into the arts and artists and making sure that it's part of the interpretation and part of the heritage. There's a lot of heritage and legacy things that artists that we've had and probably will have are going to be doing to represent the peoples of the area.
I think that's so important because the peoples were very creative, and that's something that we need to keep moving forward in life, is remembering that creativity and that connection to the land, the earth, spirit, sun, moon. And I think that's the interesting part too. It's a dark sky park. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and I can't wait to get there. And I'm embarrassed that we haven't been there yet, but we're coming, Nathan. We're like seriously going to be there. I mean, seriously,
Lisa,
it's going to happen.
You've got to put this on your do list. You've got to come to Chaco.
Okay. I mean, we will. We're going to all of them, but like we're going to do it sooner than later. And to me, this is, you've got Aztec ruins near you too. And Nathan, talk a little bit about this amazing park, this history, because it almost feels like when Tanya talks about all the different tribes, it almost feels like a gathering of nations that are celebrating something magnificent.
Well, Chaco has always been a place where people would travel great distances to for various reasons. and they did it in ancient times, and they're still doing it today. And depending on who you ask, there's approximately 21 identified tribes who claim to be descended from the ancient Chacoans. And those tribes are spread out all over New Mexico and the Southwest. And those people still consider Chaco to be their ancestral home. And so for those people, it's just a spiritual place, a place where their ancestors were and the place that their ancestors built. But even people who don't have Native American heritage, Chaco just attracts people, and it's a place where you can enjoy it with a group of people on a tour, but a lot of people enjoy the solitude that you can experience at Chaco. Not only is it an international dark sky park, but it's also an extremely quiet place. One of our former artists in residence, he did sound recordings, and he really kind of emphasized how quiet it is out there. So for people that are trying to find an experience like that, the solitude, the quiet, the natural sky, and just being amongst those ancient buildings that have been there for approximately 1,000 years, it's an experience that is really special. And in the National Park Service, we throw around this term, the power of place. And every national park has a bit of that, but Chaco,
huge.
I really think that term. I think if you were to apply it to a national park, and if you just had to pick one park, I think it would be Chaco.
That's
the power
interesting
of
you
place.
say that.
Yeah.
Power of place. We talk about this on some of our tourism shows. We talk about responsible tourism and sense of place, and the importance of our national parks, that they have this sense of place. You know what it was like. I remember, a friend of mine, Kings Canyon National Park, and we'd just come from there, and they gave us this home video that they made in the 70s of Kings Canyon, and literally almost everything was the same. And that is the power of national parks. When you think about how things can be preserved in time, and that nature did thing, of course, a few trees had fallen and some things had happened, but it was pristine versus your neighborhoods. All of a sudden, the hills are gone, and we've built more houses, or that's just progression of life. But there's something amazing about these parks. And when you say that, the power of place, now I'm like, we have to up our words now. We can't just say sense of place. It's power of place, Nathan. I love this. But these people that went to Chaco, am I right? They were like really building more of a gathering of solstice. It wasn't really cliff dwellings where you're going to live there, but it was for a celebration. They were going to have a party.
Yeah, they were building from the ground up, and it was the first time in the Southwest where buildings like this were being seen on the landscape. Before what was happening in Chaco, buildings were very modest, pit houses, and then they just started building on this grand scale.
Wow.
And people were coming from, great distances, not only to help build, but there was a lot of trade going on, exchange of goods, but also, we think, exchange of ideas. So it became, another term that we use for Chaco is the center of the center. It really was this place that its influence radiated in all directions, north, south, east, and west. And not only did ideas leave Chaco, but ideas were coming to Chaco. And I mean, they found scarlet macaws that came from Central America and maybe even parts of what is now Mexico.
Right.
And that's just mind blowing when you think about, they didn't have the wheel, they didn't have horses, but they were still bringing stuff in from tremendous distances.
The trade.
Yeah.
The trade routes are incredible. I mean, it's true. I met a gentleman in Silver City, New Mexico, and he had a seashell. John Gonzalez, and he's Apache, and he's like, well, we were filming him for a feature, and he goes, well, there's a seashell on his necklace, and we're like, well, how did you get the seashell? And he talked about the trade routes, and this is how, and different tribes would intertrade with each other. Yes, there were tribal wars, but there were these different routes, and it seems like this was like, let's get to Chaco. It's like Woodstock. Let's all go to Woodstock. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Like if you look at it like today, well, not today's time, but you know what I mean? There is this like that's this exodus to a specific place. And I think that's important. There's this, it seems like a place of unity and almost like not, I wouldn't even say national, it's like global, like a peace summit almost, or you know what I mean? It's like, you know, when we look at how we've gone in the world where we have all these big conferences with people all sitting around, somebody in the middle, and everybody has their little microphones. Like, don't you think Chaco kind of had it before that?
I do. I do think it was a place where people were coming, and for, like I said, people came for different reasons, but it was a place, a pilgrimage, you know, a destination.
Yeah.
And people might stay there for a few weeks or maybe a few months, and then return to their homes and, you know, take ideas and things that they learned at Chaco and apply that to where they were living. So, yeah, definitely a place where goods and ideas were exchanged and people got together to learn from each other and just spread those influences throughout the Southwest.
I'm ready to go there now. See, like that's, I think we all need that, and we all need some peace and quiet. Hal, I want to go back to you, and everyone go to halstewartbronze.com, and it's Stewart, Stewart. No, just trying to prove I can spell again. I always do that. But Hal, it's interesting, you know, because you lived here in the Southwest and you still live in Arizona. You worked on ranches, you know the land. Whenever you work with horses and animals, I laugh on your bio. You talk about you've been stepped on. I have been stepped on. You're the first person I know that talks about being stepped on, and I have been stepped on multiple times, and it hurts. And that will stay with you like minimum 2 weeks, right? Depending on what age. It
yes,
hurts.
It does.
It hurts, and they can, yeah. But you understand.
One of the sharpest pains in the world is to be bitten by a horse. Oh, that hurts.
Been through so much of it, but back in South Africa, we used to have horses, and we became like a sanctuary of horses and horses that were abused, and then you bring them in, and then next thing you know, like they're still not going to be nice to you, like, you know, and you had to chill out. But your horses, your art, I was just like, you have that exact, there's just these looks at horses and movements, and you really have it. It's amazing to me. But also going through what you have done in your life, you've done also 2 other residencies in national parks. One is the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, which like really blew my mind. National parks years and years ago, Jacobs Lake and that whole area. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know.
It's just stunning. It's just stunning up there.
And then Mesa Verde. So Mesa Verde.
Yes.
So going through that area, living in the Southwest, understanding the cultures, the ancient cultures, and to what we are today. Going to Chaco, what has that been like when you're in this amazing ancient place? And do you kind of start drawing lines between, not drawing lines, but connective lines, I should say, between the different cultures from what you've done before?
When I was at Mesa Verde, I was just overcome with the beauty of the cliffs and everything. And I heard about Chaco. And when I came here, my construction background kicks in, and I look at these buildings, and they have to be called monuments. I look at them, and I'm how did these people construct this without any metal tools of any type? I mean, they cut down. They had to have, I think, it's over 2,500 timbers just to build most of these buildings, and they weren't like next door, and they couldn't call Home Depot and have a truck deliver them. They had to literally go 50 to 60 miles away and cut them down with a rock of some type, and then carry those logs back, somewhere weighing upward of 1,000 pounds, carry them back physically by manpower to this site, and then shape them into the shape they want. It boggles the mind, the scope of the knowledge they must have possessed. And they never went to school, the schools we call them. And we call the people primitive, far from it.
Exactly. That makes you think about Egypt, right? And you think about even the Mayan ruins. It's like we have this here in our country, Mesa Verde. When I first went there, and we were supposed to take a nature trail, and we were on some trail for hours. And I remember this being like, this is the coolest place on earth. Like, you know, It was one of my first like forays into national parks and understanding national parks was Mesa Verde, and it was like, wow, this is incredible. We have nature and people, and look at the cliff dwellings. It reminded me of Africa where I grew up, and it was like, this is so cool. But I have to say, Hal, see, your construction background does cut in. You can't say it didn't help. But think about it.
Helps.
You know, think about Chaco and Mesa Verde, people building way up there too. It's like
sometimes
Chaco,
when I design my armature for the pieces that I'm going to be constructing, the clay pieces, a bit of engineering goes into some of them because of the positions of the animals, the people. So yes, my construction background does kick in then.
Okay, good. No, because I just think it does. I mean, because I can understand the artistic like molding of things, and there's like a emotional tie in a way, right? When you mold, is there like a not emotional? Yeah, but there's a feeling that goes into it.
Well, there's a feeling when you're working on a piece in the clay. You can work on it for weeks, for months, and it doesn't have it. It hasn't come to life yet. And then you will do a few minor adjustments, and all of a sudden it's, aha, that's it. It just came to life. It has the life I needed. Then you know you're on the right track.
So you're birthing, like you
basically. That's, I guess, is one way to put it. You know, I don't hesitate when a face is not correct. I don't hesitate to literally obliterate the face and start all over. Make the face that I want. Sometimes my sculptures will have 5 to 6 different faces until I arrive at the final one. So I don't hesitate to tear it down and rebuild it. I guess that again is the construction in me. You did it once, you can do it again.
And so your understanding of like we're ambassadors for this program called the 8 Keys of Excellence. And the first key of excellence is integrity. The second one is failure leads to success. And it's about you're going to learn from what didn't work. And that's the best lesson you can get sometimes. That's
right. That is true. Very true.
But you also teach. That was the other part where I'm going, see, I'm into segues here, right? But you also teach. You teach people how to sculpt. Tell us who you teach.
Yes, I do. I teach them. I show them the difference between a rock and a piece of clay. And believe me, a lot of them don't know the difference when they come into my classes. I teach them how to build their own armatures, how to attach the clay, how to give the figure, whether it be an animal or a human, how to give it a life, how to give it movement, how to make it say something. I teach now at Scottsdale Artist School in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is a pretty prestigious art school, and I was quite honored when they asked me to join the faculty. I also teach the American veterans in the Phoenix area, which is a great, great pride for me.
I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing that you're doing that, because I think that art is this process where you can work kinks out. And sculpture, being hands-on, has got to be therapeutic for people.
Oh, it is. That's the reason our veterans come in, and we can see such changes in them from the first day they enter, and they may be basically into isolationism where they don't want anyone to touch them or talk to them. And then after 2 or 3 weeks of handling the clay and developing, creating something, their whole attitude seems to change. And we've seen so many what some people would call miracles. We've seen so many changes in our veterans, both men and women, and it's quite awe-inspiring when this happens, and you sort of get cold chills when it happens. You see it, you recognize it.
Yeah, I've been through some parts of that in life in teaching music, and I've watched people go from not being able to move their hands because of going through a stroke to being able to move their hands, leave alcoholism. I've seen so many things that the arts can do that that's why I'm so glad you're on the show today and that you're at Chaco and what you're doing, because it's like you really shine a light, a strong, strong light on the power of the arts. And
yes.
You really do. And I want to bring that to Tanya. I mean, your program, we love your program so much, you know that. And I think that it just extends. It's never reaching. I don't think we'll ever know how far it goes, because the ripple effect is so wild in the arts. And we're talking about, looking at what happens with veterans coming home and that process. And I think that's something that you really understand, Tanya. You do that with Gettysburg and other programs that you have one for veterans. You have a specific program for that. Are you there, Tanya? Uh-oh. Tanya?
I think Tanya's not here.
She
fell in.
She fell into the volcano. It could happen. It could happen. It can happen. You never know. The first phone call I ever had with Tanya was she was in a volcano and we couldn't get her. We're like, get her. Did she fall in? And now we're right back. But I think this is a big part. And okay, so Nathan, let me go to you about that, because that's something the National Park Service works on too, is looking at history and veterans too, in a general part of it. When you look at it, the Park Service really does look at working with military history too.
Certainly, yeah. And the Park Service, we employ a lot of vets, and we have them on our staffs. And I've supervised and worked with numerous vets, and they're some of the best employees that we have in the service, for sure.
And also, I think the very first veteran I ever met that was involved in the national park was in Silver City, New Mexico, the Gila Cliff Dwellings, and he was a volunteer. And he just said he just couldn't let down his service. Like he couldn't. Like he came home from Iraq. We have a video of it, and him talking about this. Like he wanted to keep doing. He couldn't stop doing. And then his wife was out, still on the front lines, but he was a volunteer at this time, and he was just and it just kept him close to what he was doing and connected with people. And do you feel that way, Hal?
Yes.
Once you start, you can't stop.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
The art is basically an international language. It knows no language barriers. It gets to all groups.
Tell us about the beginning of your art, when you decided I'm going to do sculpture, but what was the beginning of you getting your hands in clay?
I had retired from construction, and I had built a couple of speculation homes. Didn't like that at all, because dealing with subcontractors is like trying to herd cats. It's impossible. Yeah. I knew that. I was in the construction industry. Anyway, I had some clay. I have no idea where I got it. And I had made the head of an Indian, and a friend came by and said, hey, if I would put the body underneath the head, he would pay for the casting and buy the first one. And I thought, okay, fine, I have nothing to lose. So I did. I finished the first one, fumbled and found a foundry, and did all the things necessary. And I'm sure I got ripped off price-wise, but again, you learn from your mistakes. So I produced the first one. He bought it. I sold that one, and I thought, that was easy. I'll make another one. So I made a second bronze, sold it, and people started buying my bronzes. And I kept thinking, these poor people, what is wrong with them? But anyway, I started producing 3-4 bronzes, and I finally was invited to show in an art show. And that's when I realized that, hey, there just might be a career here.
That's so
cool.
I
decided, since I live in the Southwest, I was a cowboy. I decided I will just do primarily the Southwestern people, the animals, the cowboys, the birds, anything that has to do with the Southwest. And before I do any sculpture of any type, I do extensive research. That's why being here at Chaco affords me, just mountains of research. Things that I will take away from here and incorporate into my work, whether I'm doing a Zuni Indian, or a Pueblo, or a Hopi Apache. I will take away all this knowledge, and I will use the references that I've stored in my brain. I will use that knowledge. And this Chaco Canyon is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, just once in a lifetime. And I know that's mundane to say that, but it's true. It's an experience that will never happen to me again, and it's fantastic.
It's awesome that you feel that way, because I think I look at your art, and you really, Nathan, you're talking about power of place. He's got the power of people. You have this ability to show people in a situation. It's amazing. That can be really harsh, or in the moment, in that moment, right?
Did you see the one called Hello, Old Friend with the wounded veteran and the horse?
Yeah, I'm looking at that. How did you know?
That's a veteran comes home from the war. He's still in his uniform, and he's a cowboy. And he's lost a leg, and he's lost an arm. And his old friend recognizes him.
His horse.
And that's the reason it says, hello, old friend.
Mm.
And his horse is right there, right in front of him, listening to him.
I think I'm going to cry.
Well,
I've had grown men literally cry when they see that. It's touching. It's quite touching.
Everyone, if you go to halstewartbronze.com, you'll see it, and it's and the way the horse, the left leg is standing back to allow him in, like that. You understand that connection between people and horses, and also love and loss. And you can take something that's really harsh, not just that photo, but just you're going through harshness of the land, of living the land or working the land, but you show this glimmer of beauty and happiness. Like, you know what I mean? There's this roughness of working the land, and you have that ability to show that it's not the end of the day. You know what I mean? There's this resilience is the word. That's the word for your work.
Thank you.
Resilience.
Thank you.
That's exactly it. That's, to me, what it is. And so for you, I know that you also, you're a teacher now, so that your
Yes.
role goes from, okay, I'm making sculptures, but now I'm going to share this, so your service doesn't end. But you also don't mind demonstrating. So I don't know where you're at on regards to demonstrations in the park. Is that happening, or has it happened?
It's going to be this Thursday night at 7:30.
Okay, so you're getting ready for that. You don't. Go ahead.
I'm going to show them how to build an armature, attach the clay, and then after that we will follow up with a PowerPoint presentation of the various bronzes I've made and a slight description of each one.
That's so. When you talk about that, these are going to be things you've done in the past, but you're going to do the bronzes from Chaco later.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because that's a whole process. Like right now, what's happening for you right now? And you're saying like you're gathering the information, and then this will be used for later. How are you documenting things? Like how are you? I mean, are you sketching? Are you writing your feelings?
In my mind. When I get ready to do a piece, everything comes out of my head. Someone may mention something. I might hear a word. I may see a picture. I might have a thought. And that creates an image in my mind, and I start working from there. And then once I have the basic details and everything down, that's when my research kicks in to make sure that I'm absolutely accurate in their dress, their hairstyles, their clothing, everything about them. Make sure everything is totally correct. Because if not, once you cast it, you can't change it. And someone will surely point out your mistakes, and there's no way to change them. So I do a great deal of research after I've got everything pretty well down in my head. My big plan right now is that there's a Buffalo Soldiers group in Arizona. Black soldiers, they have contacted me, and they are in negotiation with the state of Arizona, and they've recently been given land at the state capitol to build a monument. And the black soldiers have contacted me to do 3 figures. One will be, I think it's on my website, the Buffalo Soldier on horseback. And then I'll have 2 additional Buffalo Soldiers standing and seated around the horse. They will be life-size, and they'll be on the grounds of the state capitol. And I got a call this morning that said, please hurry home. We have to do the preliminary sketches, details, blah, 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 and get it to the governor.
Wow.
I've got a week to go in Chaco yet, but I've got to, when I get home, I've got to kick it up a few notches and get busy.
Wow. And the Buffalo Soldier history, people don't understand that the Buffalo Soldier history of the West is so prominent. It's huge. Like,
yes, especially in New Mexico and Arizona.
Yeah, but we don't think that. Like in Fort Bowie, like I want to be like ambassador for that park, because the history that went down there is so crazy and so incorporative of the rest of the country, what was going on. And,
yes.
It just goes into the Buffalo Soldier history in New Mexico, Silver City. I know that they have, and Fort Bayard. I don't know if you've been there.
Yep. The fort there, yes.
Yeah. I can't bring anything to the table with you. You already know it. I love it. No, I love it. I love it. I love it.
When you live to be as old as I am, you've done everything except meet God, and that's coming someday.
No, you can't do that for a while. You got a lot to do. I want to ask about the birds, because your birds, like, Nancy and I love birds and watch them every single day. And I think a lot of people that go to national parks, birds are a big part of it. And it's such a calm way to enjoy and understand. And they're the dinosaurs, the flying dinosaurs, for you in Chaco, because again, you've got that communication between them that just is amazing. When you're in Chaco, have you looked at the bird life and think like, okay, I'm going to do something on the bird side?
Yes, vultures. We found a tree here, and I guess the rangers knew all about it. But I discovered this tree one morning full of ravens. I mean, there must have been 10, 15 ravens. And then I was riding with one of the rangers the other night, and he said they seem to collect in the evening down in the Chaco Wash. But he said he has counted upwards of 70 vultures there. And I call it my raven tree. Every morning I drive through the park, make sure the rocks are still here and everything. And I always stop and talk to my vultures. They're just waking up and waiting for the sun to warm them up.
See,
so, yes,
I love that.
I paid attention to them, and I hear owls up here.
Ooh.
I've seen the elk up here. I've seen the deer.
You've seen elk?
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Now we have a problem. I'm jealous. Now I'm like seriously jealous. I'm seriously, you got some jealousy going on. Nathan, you know how we are about this now, okay? Like the elk thing, the elk, if you say you have pronghorn, I'm coming over. Like, we have a problem.
I haven't seen pronghorn. Hey, Nathan, do we have them here?
I've not seen any pronghorn.
Okay, so
I haven't either.
Nathan, when we've done so much on parks, and then people are like, oh, there's antelope here. So when people say antelope, that is pronghorn, right? Because antelope is not a deer. This is antelope. But if we look at American antelope, that is going to be it, right? Pronghorn, or are there other antelope we need to know about?
Now, Lisa, I'm the history geek, not the wildlife geek. So.
Okay. So Hal, go for it. You're a rancher.
Pronghorn is the only antelope I think native to North America.
Okay.
Now, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, and I do a lot of research, that's the only one I think is native to North America.
Yeah, and Nancy and I were talking about this the other day. We were like, okay, when people were talking about this, we were covering some areas in Colorado, and then all of a sudden we were like, wait a minute, is it just the pronghorn? We're used to impala and stuff like that from Africa, so we're like a little...
But they have pronghorns in Colorado.
Yeah, they do, and that's amazing. And so that's why I was wondering, because Nathan, you're pretty close to Durango, right? Like that's your one of your gateway communities, right? Durango and Farmington? Or am I getting that right?
Durango is it's a short drive from Aztec, and it's probably about close to 2 hours from Chaco. So for Chaco, 2 hours away you can't consider that a gateway community for sure.
What would be the immediate ones that when people are traveling that they need to know, and some of those services? Because sometimes you go to a park and you realize like you need to bring your own water. You need to, don't think that you're going to have a full service restaurant, right?
That's true. And Chaco is one of those places where people do need to be prepared. The closest grocery stores are in Crown Point, and those are pretty modest. Any kind of substantial groceries or amenities you'll find up around Farmington, Aztec, and Bloomfield. And those are an hour and a half away. So when visitors come, they need to have water, they should have food, and be prepared to be isolated and in a remote area. And
nice.
I think that's part of the appeal, though, too.
Huge.
People just need to be prepared.
I like that. And so there's no camping there yet, right? Or it's Chaco?
Oh, gosh. We do have a campground.
Oh.
It has been full, it seems like all spring. We had such a mild winter, and the past week it has warmed up to the 70s, like Hal has said, and our campground is booked full. So if visitors want to come and camp, and I would suggest that so that you can experience the night sky. To stay overnight and experience that night sky is an amazing experience. And so do come and camp, but make a reservation beforehand, and they can do that on the recreation.gov website. And that way you're guaranteed a spot. You don't have to worry about if anything is going to be available when you show up, and you can enjoy the sights. There's wonderful hiking. There's bicycling too that people take advantage of. But of course, the ruins and the night sky, I mean, you're not going to see stuff like that anywhere else in the country or in the world for that matter.
Exactly. That's the thing. And I love this about the night sky. It's such a huge deal. And it becomes so, for all of us in cities, it becomes increasingly aware, like we have sky pollution. Like we it is what it is. It's about us all living and being around in our cities. But like here in Tucson, like where we are, like we get up and leave early when we go to parks and stuff, and it's like you could barely see our way out, like even onto the street. We're like, uh-oh, we're way in the dark. And I understand like these dark skies, but you guys are really, really out in dark sky country. And you also, isn't the October residency more of that? Like you work with people that are coming in to film the dark skies.
Yeah, our very first artist in residence was a night sky photographer named Stan Honda. And I don't know who they selected for the upcoming October residency, but I am aware that at least one night sky photographer applied, so we might get another one. But we get both professional and amateur photographers who want to go in and do night photography after hours. And it seems like we're getting those requests more and more and more because the word has gotten out that for night photography, Chaco's the place. I mean, you have the sky, but to have, a place like Pueblo Bonito in the foreground and have that amazing Milky Way shot in the background, I mean, it's something that people are traveling from around the world to come and do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the thing is, it's you have your artists doing it, your photographers that are professional, and then you have the amateurs that are interested, and kids that, to me, kids that can understand and get to see this need to see it now. And I'm like they need to see this now. I'm just like a paranoid person about it because I feel like the more we, develop as countries, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, to quote Seinfeld, it's about being able to see what you can when you can. I mean, I'm a child that grew up, I'm not a child now, but I as a child grew up in Africa, and I got to see multiple species at watering holes, from crocodiles to marabou storks to impala to zebra, giraffe. I mean, everything there. 10 to 15 species just in one shot. It's not the same anymore. It's in some places you'll find it, but it's not a normal occurrence. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to go to our parks and be part of them now as much as we can, because the earth is changing, right? And we're growing in populations. And so when you look at dark skies, this is a magical thing. And now we have, this digital photography phenomenon that many people can go and do it, not necessarily as an artist, but you have an ability to be part of it. It's like karaoke got people to start singing and enjoying music even a little bit more and be part of it. So I'm just saying, right? Just saying. I don't know about karaoke. Is there campground karaoke, Nathan, that happens at Chaco?
Probably, yeah. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the campground that I'm not aware of and probably don't want to know about.
He doesn't want to know. He's going to keep. Okay, so Hal, tell me about this. The night skies, for you, being out there, do you feel is it darker than where you've been in southern Arizona and on a ranch?
Yes, yes. I've never been in any place in the world as dark as it is here at night.
Wow. So my thing is,
you go outside and the first thing is, my God, there are stars up there. We're all from metropolitan areas where, like you said, the light pollution is so bad, we just can't see any of the stars. But up here, yes.
Does it tie you closer to the ancestral peoples when you think about how they lived by star and by sun?
When I think about that is that, they studied it. They probably knew more about it than I did, but at the same time, it's the same sky they looked at hundreds of years ago. Most of the planets, the stars are still there, same ones they looked at, the same ones they charted, they drew. It's all the same, even though it's been hundreds of years. The same sky is there.
Wow. Now, tell me about your living quarters, because this is the deal. You're staying in a
very
park.
good.
Okay, because we all want to know, like, any of us that want to apply, like, is this a cool experience, comfortable? Like, would you do it again?
Oh, yes. My apartment is a 1-bedroom apartment. I have a kitchen. I have a lovely living room, couches. It's furnished. And from my living room, I see the Hada Butte. It's beautiful. I see it in the morning when I wake up. I watch it all day long. And in the evening when the golden sun hits it, it's like it's made of gold. It just shines. It just shines. The only suggestion I could give them for the units up here, our living units, is decorate the walls. Being an artist, the first thing you notice when you enter any room, any building, are blank walls. They're horrible.
But
is Nathan listening?
I hear you.
But I'm going to say this. That's the thing. Your first thing is you want to change it now. If you have somebody's art on there you don't like, it may really annoy you. So maybe it's about challenging your creativity. What you want to paint
pictures
on.
of the ruins here. Just put big posters of the ruins on the walls. Just anything.
Nathan?
I do paintings too, so I've done 3 since I've been
really?
here.
Oh. So, Tanya, I know that you fell down the volcano. I really hope you didn't fall down the volcano. I really don't. She's one of my favorite people in the world. She is. She really is. But, so Nathan, are murals allowed to happen inside park quarters? I'm just saying, that would be cool.
Fortunately not. We've got posters that we can put up, and that's a good suggestion. We'll
that's
try
my
to remember
suggestion,
to do that.
Posters.
But it's funny that you mentioned murals, because the buildings within the canyon, they would have had a plaster layer on the exterior walls and on many of the interior walls. And we think that those buildings were covered with murals and petroglyphs like what we see throughout the canyon.
So when we see those buildings either.
Yeah, when we see those buildings today, it's the exposed sandstone and mortar, but that would have been plastered over with most likely elaborate artwork on the walls. So like
actual murals, like not the petroglyphs and the What's the difference between a petroglyph and a pictograph?
A petroglyph is scratched into the rock, and a pictograph, they use some kind of material, probably plants and other things, to kind of create like an ink or a paint. But as far as what was on the plaster, we don't know exactly what was on there because the plaster is long gone. But it could have been murals, or it could have been like what we see in the pictographs or petroglyphs. But in all likelihood, these were artistic people too. So in all likelihood, their buildings were covered with art and their expressions.
So I was right about Woodstock, is what you're saying. Like, seriously. They had like hippie murals. No, I'm kidding. I'm just saying, like, think about it. They're all like, hey, the arts are all going here, let's go, because they all converge. It's interesting. I find it interesting because, to me, when you look at Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and parts of Utah, when you look at that, Nevada, you got to add Nevada and parts of California when you look at the Southwest. But it seemed to me that the tribes moved around a lot and had to do with water, hunting, and water is always a thing, right? If water is life. And I just find it interesting because it seems like a lot of tribes just kind of disappeared, and we don't know, like, what happened. What happened in Casa Grande ruins, that area, the Casa Grande area. So it's interesting to me to try and piece all of that together. And I'm, every time I do an interview or go to a park, I'm trying in my head to get the big scheme of who was what and where, and it's difficult. Like, do you find that, Nathan? I know it's pretty, like, didn't they move around a lot, the different tribes, and did they just disappear? Like, what I'm saying.
We know they were in Chaco for a few hundred years.
That's a long time.
The earliest building, we believe, was the construction began in about 850, and by the late 1100s and early 1200s, they were in the process of moving out, and the people, they did not disappear. They went south and they went west and they went north, and today, there's, like I mentioned early on in our conversation, there's several tribes that are descended from the people of Chaco. So they migrated. Their journey told them it was time to move to other places, so they did.
Wow, yeah, I understand that. We're nomadics, so we get that. And how, with you going to Mesa Verde and also the North Rim, do you feel like that they moved around a bit? These people, like, is it water? Do you think?
I'm sorry, is it what?
The ancients, the ancestral peoples. You got the Anasazi, right? And you've got all these different tribes that come from that. Do you think they moved because of water?
They left? No, I don't think they left because of water. Like Nathan said, I think they decided that they had to come to this spot. It was something just told them they had to build here. That's the reason they built this Pueblo Bonito underneath this threatening rock, even though they knew it was going to fall. They knew that. They tried to shore it up. They still built this complex there. I think in their journey, this had come to an end. This chapter was closing. It's time to move on. I have a Hopi friend, and he still talks of Chaco Canyon. So, yeah, it was just they stop on their life, and they go on. I think they left because they were finished here.
They understand cycles. Have you been to the museum in Flagstaff? The northern. Okay,
yes,
did you see the Hopi mural in there?
Yes.
And I mean, this is like years ago I saw it. So, but it always got me that it was almost very Buddhist in thought. It was like the cycle of life. That place has never left my skin, of being in there and understanding their cyclical life. Like that's what humans go through. Nature does everything. It's this cycle. And it's kind of interesting when I listen to you both talking about Chaco and the people. It's like that. They know when a cycle is coming to the next one, to get into the next, get into the next circle.
That's true.
Yeah.
Lisa, one of our longtime volunteers, was talking to a group of us the other day, and he was talking to a Native man, and that very topic came up. Why did they leave Chaco? And this Pueblo man said, he thought about it for a minute, and he said it was time to go.
Right.
Yeah. When you need to move out the neighborhood. And some people want to stay there. There's like a thing that happens. And that's just, if you look at human beings, for me, I just keep moving, because that's just, I want to see everything. So I'll keep moving, whether it's fast or slow. But I always look at the peoples that were nomadic and understand them more than what we are today. Yet when you look at today, people are living away from their families. They are traveling around, right? Isn't it weird? Like when you look at cycles, like we're moved. Anyway, not to get weird on y'all. Just saying, we do move by cycles. Human beings do. But really, I'm so excited. How your work is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Really, we can't wait. Please keep us posted as you create and move this on for people to understand more about Chaco. This is so amazing. Everybody, again, go to halstewartbronze.com. Also, keep up with Chaco Culture National Historical Park. I keep wanting to say canyon. You know that, Nathan.
I
can't help it.
Yeah.
I know. It's annoying. Everybody, nps.gov/CHCU. But you can't both go away. I have one more question for you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ready.
So, like Tanya knows, maybe that's why she's like disappeared down the volcano. She's going to ask about the 1 hour walk. We have a movement on Facebook, onehourwalk.com, everyone. Check it out. It's to get people to go out, take a walk, at least 1 hour walk once a week, whether it's someplace you're traveling to, your local community, and to just get a breath of fresh air and observe the little things. So what I want to ask each of you is, if you're going to take a 1 hour walk in Chaco, any of that area, where would that 1 hour walk be? Because I have no clue about the trails yet. And who would you take with you to gain some wisdom, or just to share a really nice walk with? It could be someone alive or passed on. So Nathan, you're the park ranger. I'm starting with you because of the trails. So.
Well, it might take a little longer than an hour, but I think I would go up to the Pueblo Bonito Overlook, which is on the Pueblo Alto Trail. So you're on top of the mesa, and you're looking down on Pueblo Bonito. It's a bird's eye view, and it just really kind of puts it all together for you. When you're down on the ground seeing things, yeah, you can get a sense, but when you're up on top of the mesa looking down, wow, it's really mind-blowing. And I would take my children.
Oh.
My kids are 5 and 7 now, and I think they're ready for that kind of hike. So I think they're old enough to, climb up on top of the mesa with me and not get too tired beforehand. And I think they're ready. So I've been thinking about doing that here pretty soon.
Oh, right on. Any tips for parents taking kids on a trek?
Well, this is not just for parents, but any visitors. Bring lots of water. Make sure everyone's got comfortable hiking shoes. And also, the elevation is over 6,000 feet, and a lot of people don't realize that, and it can sneak up on people. So one way to avoid any kind of elevation sickness is, again, to stay more hydrated than you normally would. But yeah, for kids, there's moderate hiking trails. There's junior ranger activities. We've got a junior ranger book that kids can do and earn a special junior ranger badge. So yeah, families are definitely welcome. And for kids that grow up in cities, when they come to Chaco and they get to see the Milky Way, I mean, it's a pretty neat experience to see their reactions when they get to see these stars that they don't get to see in their own backyard.
Oh, that's magical. That's got to be magical to see. Like, honestly, that, because you can't really, really envision it until that happens. So let me ask you, Hal, what about you? Who are you taking on a 1 hour walk and where?
I would probably go over to Quito. It's one of my favorite ruins here. It's absolutely beautiful. I would like to take, in addition to my 2 granddaughters, I would love to take Benjamin Franklin along with me.
My. That
man was so weird. He was an inventor. He was, he just fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me. But that's who I'd like to take along and get his interpretation of things going on around him at the time. And that would be very interesting to sit down and have a conversation with that man.
Oh man, I want to hang out with you on that one because I have a fascination on Benjamin Franklin. Yes. And it's crazy and weird is good. No one else has said weird other than me, so I'm really glad someone said it because he there's some weirdness in there. There is. Have you read his biography, the big one, the big biography of Benjamin Franklin?
I've read several. I don't know whether I've read the big one. I've read several of his biographies, autobiographies and autobiographies and so forth. But
I need to go look up who I'm talking about, who wrote that because it was this big. It was like a Bible. And
I have found that creative people sometimes are considered weird, and especially applies to artists.
That's okay.
Artists are happy around their own type when they're with an artist convention and an art club meeting. These people are so happy because they're not strange, they're not weird. They're with their own type. They're creative. Yeah. They can say things, they can do things that the general public might just raise an eyebrow over, but creative people are different. They see the world differently.
It's exciting.
It differently.
Well, thank goodness for that because that's what's needed. Everybody's worried about everything with artificial intelligence and everything, and I'm actually, I think we're in the era of creativity right now. It's about how you work with things, how you handle it, and change breeds creativity, which I think is a good thing, no matter how hard it is.
Change is good.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us on today's show. It's been such a pleasure. Everybody, the National Parks Arts Foundation, go to their website. It's really hard, nationalparks-arts-foundation.org. And keep up with them. They always have deadlines for their submissions. And it's about how the grants work. So they'll get a grant and then they have to everybody, submit now. That's really how it is. And you just have to be as diligent as you can. If you go to their website, sign up for their newsletter, because that way you'll get, like, as soon as something is available that you can submit as an artist, whether you're a poet, a filmmaker, a musician, it's open to everybody. Again, it's nationalparks-arts-foundation.org. They're also on Facebook and Twitter, another way to keep up with these submissions, because really they move fast. And that's just the way grants work. It's got nothing to do with anything but that. And everybody keep up with Hal and his work. Go to halstewartbronze.com. That's Stewart, it's Stewart, halstewartbronze.com. And go to Chaco Culture National Historical Park is nps.gov/CHCU. I got that right, Nathan, right?
You got it right.
Made sure. Got to make sure. And I spelled Stewart right. I got to make sure I got my spelling test done. Like, Hal, am I okay with that?
Yes.
Do I get a star? Thank you both for joining us. Everyone, don't forget, Big Blend Radio airs Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Fridays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget, keep up with us also at nationalparkstraveling.com for your travel plans when you go to national parks and discover their gateway communities as well. And that's also home to our Parks and Travel magazine, which you will see Hal's working, by the way. So check that out.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I know. That will be coming up soon in our June-July issue of the magazine, if I get that straight in my head on publishing dates. But we're going to play some music for you both, and also for Tanya, even though she's playing around a volcano. And for our listeners, it's called Chaco. And this is one of my favorite songs of all time. And if we're going to talk about Chaco, we have to play the song. It's from the Tall Men group out of Southern California. It's from their very first album together. It's 12 by 6 because it is 6 tall men who have a writing challenge, and they produce an album a year from it. And this is 12 by 6. So 12 songs by 6 tall men, and you can go to tallmengroup.weebly.com. So enjoy that. And thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, listeners, as always, and thank you, guests. And here it is, Chaco. Take care, everybody.
I remember these canyon walls. I remember desert wind. No, I've never been here before. It's good to be back here again. It's good to be back here again. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. The part of me still here, with these same eyes, but a different face in this place. The time is long since gone. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. I remember turquoise in my hand. I remember stars at night. I remember walking a dusty road. I don't remember how I died. I don't remember how I died. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. The part of me still here, with these same eyes, but a different face in this place. The time is long since gone. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. A glimpse behind the curtain, the shadow on the wall, a vision I can never grasp, a few pieces of the puzzle, fragments of the truth. These from my ancient past. Oh, Chaco, you were my home, and part of me still here, with these same eyes, but a different face in this place. The time is long since gone. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. I remember